Welcome back to part 2 of rebuilding my dream wide-body E46. If you didn't catch part 1, click the link in the top right now to go catch that video. If you did see part 1, then here's a little recap of what we've done so far. In the first instalment of building my dream wide-body E46, I received and measured up this Pandem style wide-body kit. This involved modifying the kit as it's a cheap eBay special, albeit not a bad one once all things considered. I then used self-tappers to mount the kit to the car. This also gave me pilot holes to install riv nuts later on. The next task on the list was to then cut out the stock arches. I have to say it was a daunting task in the build up, but once I cut the arches out I realised it wasn't too bad and it could all be sorted or hidden anyway. It was then time to hard mount the kit using riv nuts and proper bolts. Oh, and let's not forget about that spoiler. Jay helped me install and secure my CSL ducktail spoiler. So now you're all caught up, it's time to get on with part 2. I left you in the last video saying that we need to get the arches welded on the rear of this car and get to Steve's unit. However, before we do that, there are a few jobs we need to do so we can legally drive this car down the road. A few videos ago I installed this M3 GTR bonnet, but it had no latches and no grills. Fortunately, thanks to this comment, we've got grills and they are from a facelift E46 instead of another series of BMW like I originally thought. However, that means we still need latches and I've gone down the route of aero catches. So let's skip to that now so I can legally and safely drive this car to Steve's unit. Now they're quite simple to fit. Just literally put a pin on the chassis underneath the bonnet somewhere, probably around here, and then we've got to find where that touches, drill through, draw around, and it's quite simple. I'll show you the process now. Here you see me line up the pins with where I want to mount them on the chassis to see if they meet up on a suitable location on the bonnet. I think the hardest bit about this is finding the location. So we've obviously got to make sure it meets up on a chassis point and somewhere that looks good on the bonnet. I want it to go on this body line here somewhere, and that's probably the best place I've found for it. Looking at it from here, I think it works. It goes quite well on the body line. Obviously I'm going to angle it right. Just need to make sure that that location either side I can drill through on the chassis and then obviously make it work through the bonnet. So let's have a look. So the place I've chosen is here, and there's already a rivet there which is holding on this bracket that holds on basically the headlight structure and other stuff. But if I drill through the rivet, this bolt's going to hold the bracket anyway, so I don't think that that's an issue. And I feel like that's probably the best location, because up here is going to be a bit too close to the vents, or doesn't quite fit, or I can't actually get under there to put the bolt on. So I feel like I'm going to try this out and see how that goes. I start by using a punch to give an accurate drilling point, then I use my Christmas tree drill bit to create holes for the bonnet pins. Once the holes were the right size, I put the pins in, but they were a bit fiddly to tighten the nuts. I found that holding the nut and screwing the pin in was the best solution. Now one side was done, it's time to do the other. So now we've got both pins in place, it's time to mark them up on the bonnet and drill through there. Out comes a Sharpie. I lay the bonnet on the pins and mark up where they sit to give me my drilling point. I then use that marker to drill my initial hole from the bottom. Now if that works, these will go through. If not, okay, we're on, they're at an angle, but we've got to cut around that anyway, so that's not a major issue. What we'll do that one goes through. Cool. Now I've never done this, I'm just simply winging it. So next I feel like we need to put this on it where it's going to go. I'm going to get some masking tape so we can draw around, but that is ultimately where it's going to sit. Let's tape it up. Don't worry, I've learned my lesson with the tape. It's not staying on. I'm going to mark this up and it's coming straight off. I'm not dealing with that again. Using the masking tape, I take my Sharpie and draw around the aero catches to give me a guide of where to cut. Then out comes the angle grinder to make the initial cuts, but I end up moving on to the Dremel so I could be more precise and get the curves I couldn't achieve with the angle grinder. And just like that, the aero catch slides into place. Now time to secure it to the bonnet. This involves drilling holes in all 6 points you can see here, cleaning off the fiberglass dust, refitting the aero catch, and using the screws that come in the kit to screw through the bonnet. The annoying part was that to hold the nut on with long nose pliers to be able to screw the aero catches to the bonnet, but we got there in the end. So that is the aero catches all done, and they're not quite perfect. Because I got them from AliExpress, they are just cheap Chinese 3D printed stuff. So in order to pull the pins all the way back to take them out of the upright pins, you need to basically push it with your finger. That means the mechanism doesn't work properly, so you need to get a screwdriver in to pull it back. So I will be investing in some proper aero catches. These were cheap, trying to save a bit of money, but clearly in this case it didn't work out. Now that the aero catches are on, that's massively helped me out with the fitment of this bonnet, because the bonnet was sat a little bit too low before we put the aero catches on. However, putting the aero catches on has meant that I've raised the bottom section up, but the middle section is still a little bit low. What I've done on this side is I've moved the stopper, which is normally about here underneath the bonnet, and I've installed it here on the wing. That means that the wing is now sat perfectly level with the bonnet. And when we compare that to the driver's side, there's still a bit of a lip here. So what I need to do is take that bung out of there, install it in about here somewhere, and raise this lip up. Here is a stopper I mentioned, and it simply unscrews from the car. I then copy the design of the original stopper hole by drilling out the same size hole, using my angle grinder to create a slit, and then using my screwdriver to bend the pieces in the slit to allow the stopper to be screwed in. It wasn't perfect, but you could see from this shot here that it wasn't far off, and it worked just as good. The only thing left was to screw in the stopper and see how it fits. Every step we take, we're turning the page. With you, I'm out of my cage, feeling all the rage. We used to talk right now. And as easy as that, it is level and done. So now it's sitting perfect. No longer is it sitting lower than the M3 wings, which obviously the stock bonnet did. All we need is the aero catches, the proper aero catches, to get rid of these cheap 3D printed ones, and the bonnet is done. Now the aero catch is on, and securing this bonnet, we could safely drive this car without the risk of the bonnet flying up. That leaves us one more job to do before we head to Steve's unit to get these rear arches welded. You eagle-eyed viewers who watched the last video might have seen that there was a big gap where the rear of the body kit meets the side skirts. This is because the kit is designed for an M3, not a 330M Sport like this, meaning that the side skirt profiles are slightly different. So I've managed to pick up some genuine M3 side skirts in hopes to close the gap. So let's see if the side skirts fit and we achieve the fitment that we're after. First things first, I need to remove the trim clips holding the side skirt onto the bottom of the car. Then I can simply pull the top of the side skirt free from the top clips, making sure to be careful to hopefully not snap any of the clips. Fortunately for me, this has either not been off before or whoever did take it off was careful because all of my clips were intact.
Like an empire, building towers and breaking heights. You want it to be heard.
That's one off, time to get the new one on. The process for refitting the side skirt was the reverse of what I've just done. However, to make it easier, I put two clips in the bottom, one at the front and one at the rear. This held the side skirt on whilst I pushed the top clips in place. Then I had to go back underneath to fit the rest of the bottom trim clips. Now, I'm not expecting this to be perfect, but it's not half bad. Damn sight better than it was. I then had to install riv nuts to the new side skirt so I could bolt on the kit to hold it in place. Now that makes all the difference in the world. Let me show you the before and the after. So on the passenger side, you can see we still have this huge gap there, which just makes it look like this isn't the right kit and it just doesn't fit for the car. But if we come over to the driver's side, you can see this massive difference. Look at that fitment now. Like I said, I've decided to wrap this car, so the colour isn't an issue because we're going to wrap straight over it anyway, but that's made a massive difference and now it actually fits like it should to the M3 car. I'm just going to fit the passenger side and then I'll catch back up with you guys in a sec. Now the side skirts and the bonnet are all done, it's time to go see Steve and get these arches welded, finally. So let's hope nothing falls off because this is the first time of driving the car since everything's been put on. Fingers crossed. So, successful first drive. We're now at Steve's unit and the bonnet didn't fall off, thankfully, and the kit didn't fall off, so we're all good. Time to get in with Steve and get these arches welded. So Steve is a man who has seen his fair share of wide body kits, and what do you think of the kit, Steve, so far? Quick look.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah?
Yeah, not bad at all.
And my installation, all right?
Yeah, you've done a good job for someone who's never done it before. Yeah, you've done an all right job.
Give me out of 10 score, honestly.
I'll be good. I'll give you a 9 because
I'll take
done
that.
really well.
I'll take that. Bear in mind, it's a cheap eBay kit as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've just fit it up roughly at the minute. I've got to get a bit of rubber seal round, close off a few of those gaps, but I'll take a 9 out of 10. And the cut job, Steve, I know you've got a bit of clean up to do.
Again, yeah, you've done an all right job. There's a few bits that are a bit iffy up here, but
yeah.
Again, if you'd have done a 9 out of 10 on that, I'd have been pleased. But that's about it. I'll give you an 8 on that one.
Yeah, I'll take an 8. I mean, it's not my forte. I was a bit of a BMW butcher, as somebody in the comments said in a previous video. But I'll take an 8 out of 10. Perfect. Right, so while Steve gets that done and welds all that up, I'm going to mess around with the suspension so we don't hopefully look like a monster truck once it comes down off the lift. God knows when these coilovers were installed, so the first thing is to use some penetrating lubricant on the bottom bolt holding on the rear damper. Using the impact wrench made light work of these bolts, and just like that the whole rear suspension assembly drops down, leaving me just enough room to lever the lower suspension arm and pull out the spring and spring adjuster.
Locked in at first sight. Tell me, is it wrong to feel this right? Super effective, you're just my type. City like blood.
Now over to the bench. I used the vise to hold the spring adjuster so I could lubricate the threads in hopes to loosen off the collars in order to lower them down, ultimately lowering the suspension. Then it was simply the matter of reinstalling them in the same way I took them out. Whilst I was lowering the suspension, Steve was busy grinding down the driver's side arch, ready for welding. He then uses pieces of sheet metal to cut out rough shapes to weld in and fill the gaps.
So this is the shape we've got now, and this is going to sit in here. And what we'll do is we'll tack down here and up here, and then we'll roll this bit round.
Nice.
Into there and weld down the back of there, and then we'll go up.
Yeah, same process, following it all the way up then.
Yep, just follow it up. Do it in sections, because obviously if we tried to do it in one it'd be really difficult.
Yeah.
So we'll just do it in sections and we'll just overlap them.
Perfect.
Plan.
Leaving Steve to cut and measure the sheet metal, I crack on with lowering the passenger side rear suspension exactly how I just done the driver's side. So that was quite easy. Suspension is now as low as it can possibly go. Hopefully it gives us a bit of room to breathe. Hopefully it's a bit too low, which means we can come up a bit and have a little bit of room, because these are obviously not the alloys that we're keeping with. So suspension's done. It's now just getting Steve to weld the arches up and see what she looks like. A bit hot, isn't it? Please don't burn my car down. Didn't catch it, but Steve set fire to my car. There's a bit of insulation. Yeah, well, there's a bit of insulation just behind the arch, and obviously it got hot, so he tried to remove it beforehand, but it's just caught a little bit. At least it's not behind the panel this time.
Yeah.
Right, Steve, I think I'll leave it there for you to crack on with.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to catch up with Steve tomorrow once he's got a chance to do this side and obviously do the other side. So I'll catch up with you guys next time I'm back at Steve's unit. Stevie boy.
Hello.
How's he looking?
Alright.
Wide as always. So just finished the gym and popped to Steve's unit to see how he's getting on. The arches are all welded. It just needs to sort out a blowing exhaust. So I'll show the arches now. We'll check the wheel fitment out now, and I'll come back tomorrow to get the car from Steve permanently.
I'm superstitious, but it doesn't have to do with me.
It's been a few days and we're back at Steve's unit. Unfortunately, Steve has left because he's had to rush off for dinner. It is Friday night, I can't blame him for that. But Steve has done a cracking job. As you can see here, he's welded up the arches fully, both sides, and cleaned it all up with some seam sealer and a bit of paint, just to make it look that little bit better. And as you can see from this angle, the car sits so much better now that I've lowered the collars. However, it does still need to come lower because this kit is very aggressive and sits quite high compared to the stock car. So what does that mean? I'm probably going to have to take the collar off of the unit and actually sit the springs straight on the unit that the collars are on, and that then allows me to sit it a little bit lower, probably get an extra inch or so. Plus I've secured some wheels you'll see in a later video, which should also make a difference to this fitment. Now, as far as the wide body goes, we've obviously not done a wide body install in this video, but we have done all the admin for the rear kit to get that finished completely, and obviously sorted out the bonnet as well. But where does that leave us? That leaves us at the end of part 2, where you guys need to come back for part 3, because I'm just about to receive the front half of this kit. So come back in the next video to see me install that. I also want to say a big thank you to the over 300 of you that subscribed and over 12,000 of you that watched the last video in the first 6 days of it being released. It's absolutely insane, and I cannot thank you guys enough. To that end, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and I'll see you guys in part 3 when we put the front wide body on this car.
Oh.